Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, this is Linda Schell, and welcome to the Writers on the Air. I am your host, along with Linda R. Wright today, and we're going to join with Alan Hodgson this morning and with Mary T. Wagner. Writers on the Air is dedicated to all writers and genres. Until COVID, we met Sunday afternoons at Common Grounds Meeting Hall next door to WKDW 97.5 FM radio in the Warm Springs Mineral Shopping Plaza in Northport. WKDW Radio is the home of real community radio and is on the air through the efforts of volunteers at WKDW and the sponsors for our various shows. One example is Open Mic, which airs on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Bud Buckley invites songwriters and singers to perform. Please contact Bud if you would like to join his jam sessions that right now are COVID-19 friendly. Our radio address is 12737 Tamiami Trail, Northport, Florida 34287. Our station phone number is 941-564-8739. And now we will begin our show. And everyone knows tomorrow is Veterans Day, so we have a few Thursday. So we have a few pieces that we're going to read in honor of Veterans Day. I'm going to start by bringing to everyone's attention that there is an organized event called Memorial to Fallen Veterans, and it was founded by the Knights of Columbus at St. Thomas More Catholic Church in Sarasota. And they're going to hold a tribute to Veterans Day tomorrow. But I want everyone to know that every Wednesday at 9 o'clock, the public can gather at Sarasota National Cemetery on Clark Road in Sarasota, Florida, to pay tribute to veterans. And so far at this particular writing, they have paid tribute to 1,000 vets who have no family. Those 1,000 vets are called no-knock, which means no next of kin. The honored vets have served in any one of our wars. Sometimes as many as 5 vets are honored in one service. Each has their own story. Some came back whole, some came back broken. The 295-acre Sarasota National Cemetery, which opened in 2008, they held their first service in 2009. Approximately 27,000 vets and their spouses are buried in this cemetery. At each ceremony, patriotic guards ride motorcycles, and each service is attended by clergy. The vet is given a ceremony for their specific branch of service, concluding with the American flag, which is given to a designated recipient. Taps are paid, and then each patriotic guard files past the flag or urn and salutes the vet as the vet is taken to his or her final resting place. And for the ceremony, my husband and quite a few other people were asked to write a poem. And if you knew my husband, you'd know that poems aren't his thing, but he did try. And this is a poem that my husband wrote for the ceremony. A veteran is one who served our nation. It does not matter what his station. Millions answered the call, yet sadly, many would fall. The land of the free and the home of the brave at times would place some in their grave. For these coming home, some will roam, and yet others will shine. How bright they can glow. Thank you very much, Tom. And I want to give a special good morning shout out to Mary T. Wagner from West. She joins us here in cold Sarasota County, Florida, from Wisconsin, the Malibu of the West. And on one of her books, one of her reviewers said that she is the reincarnation of Emma Bombeck, only her shoes are sexier. And she has written delightful children's stories, and she's also written some sexy books, like When the Shoe Fits. Well, I shouldn't call them sexy, but when you see a high heel, that's what I think of. And Mary became a prosecuting attorney at 40 years of age, and she has argued cases in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And we welcome you, Mary. What do you have for us today?
Well, today I'm going to go back to that one that we tried that we started the last time I was here, which is the Romeo and Juliet song. And so I've broken it into two halves, which should be 3 minutes each.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. There's a guilty pleasure I just have to confess and then explain. Not that there isn't already a list. Belgian chocolates, high heels, coastal Georgia, guys in uniform, the movie Gladiator. But this is a chapter and a phenomenon all its own. I'm a grown woman over 40, and I like the Taylor Swift song Love Story. There, I said it out loud. You know the song. There was a time you couldn't possibly escape it on the radio. It's the one where she's Juliet and he's Romeo, and it's got pre-feminist to the point of Neanderthal lyrics like, Romeo, save me. Good God, I thought the first dozen times I heard it, or heard enough of it to change the channel. How utterly dopey, how ridiculous and unreal, how god-awfully uncomplicated and fairy tale and unconnected to the realities of love and relationships. And for heaven's sakes, didn't she read to the end of Romeo and Juliet and realize that the two of them died? So much for teenage romance. So that was the starting point for the journey to actual affection. Active dislike morphing into something warmer, just like real life or any number of romantic comedies such as You've Got Mail. It was the beat that caught me first. Rhythmic and pulsing and steady and smooth, relentless even, like the slap of a plastic jump rope on a summer sidewalk. 3 or 4 girls killing time on a warm afternoon, the jumper in the middle always switching out, the rhythm as consistent and steady as crickets chirping. Equilibrium as perfectly maintained, despite the occasional shift in positions, as a gyroscope spinning on a picnic table. I found myself humming along even after I changed the channel. And then I quit changing the channel altogether and I looked at it through a new window. Everything that drove me nuts about it at first, especially the cloying fairy tale neediness of it, became a window into being a teenager again. Back in the day when all you could see was what you wanted with all of your heart right now, with no thought of the future other than the naive belief that love could conquer all. Remember those days? Mine, I'm sure, were fueled by a childhood spent reading too many novels full of noblemen waiting to rescue their damsel in distress and whisk them off to a life of happily ever after. It took me years to outgrow that template, and that's what I'm going to call it for part number 1. So stay tuned for the second part.
Mary, you really have a way of words. I like the way you put your words together. And I'm thinking, in the movies, especially the old movies, didn't they give women and young girls a template for disaster, if you think about it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And things like, I love the movie Niagara with Joseph Cotton being a bad guy and Marilyn Monroe and all those absolutely stunning outfits. And I love Niagara Falls too. But when you look at the relationship in the young couple that are honeymooning, she's the wife who's kind of onto things being wrong, and he's the husband going, "Oh, honey, don't worry, drink this glass of water and go back to bed." And I just want to shake him. Yes, they set a rather unrealistic standard in a lot of ways.
Very, very unrealistic. Okay. All right. I want to switch over to our one and only airline pilot. Alan, what do you have for us today?
I'll start with a trip we made to England a little while ago, and it's called Reflections. Following a few relaxing days reminiscing with the family, enjoying laughs, good ale, and pub grub, it's time to drive up country to visit the mother-in-law. Usually this trip on the M11 motorway is the same old routine, but this time it's a little different. We leave the rush near Cambridge and exit at junction 13, taking the country road towards the village of Madingley. About a mile up the lane on the right, and amid a tall stand of stately trees, we see the sign we're looking for. The white stone monolith announces American War Memorial Cemetery. Turning into the driveway, we pull into a wide parking space, and upon leaving the car, the first thing we see is a beautiful long bench. The polished brass plate on the backrest is inscribed, dedicated to the memory of Major Glenn Miller. Passing through a small opening in a great wall, we come a very long reflecting pool. At the far end is a massive flagpole with Old Glory flapping in the limey breeze over these 30 acres donated by Cambridge University. At the opposite end stands the white Portland stone memorial chapel. Inside, we find the high ceiling is a colored mosaic montage of field guns and tanks and the aircraft that some flew. On one long wall is a marble relief mat showing the European and Mediterranean theatre and depicting the headquarters, bases, bombing runs, and sea lanes of those times. Across the way, bright stained glass windows image each state flag, and around the great double doors are windows showing a collection of war medals. We strolled out onto the front balcony. Along the great stone wall on the left are 5,000 names of those young guys and girls lost, but with no grave. Below to the right is a great fan of curved corridors of white Lhasa marble crosses, marking the final resting place of 4,000 young servicemen and women from across the Atlantic. Now the sky was mostly low, scudding clouds, with small patches of duck-egg blue peeping through. The brisk breeze was buffeting nodding trees and bushes and turning their leaves up to show their silvery undersides, and the air felt hallowed and serene. It was time to leave this poignant and beautiful place, but not before a reflecting pause and a quiet but dignified and sincere thank you all. That's that one.
We appreciate that, Alan. Thank you so much. This is from our Scottish friend, Sheila Calhoun. It's called A Mother's Song. I'll sing you a song of today, son, of things that I think you should hear. They ask that for love of your country, you will join up and fight over there. Oh, the innocent ears that don't hear now, the innocent eyes that don't see. If all around the world we would answer, say, we just won't fight anymore. They'll say you are bold and courageous, a patriot song brave and true. But you'll notice that their sons and daughters are not over there fighting with you. They'll tell you in all different countries that you're fighting with God on your side. Oh, the innocent lives they have broken by twisting your thoughts and your mind. They'll fill you with hate and with anger. They'll stir up the crowds for revenge. These leaders in all different countries, the same message is all that they send. They're not doing what we think they should do. They don't look and don't think as we do. So strap on your guns and your gear, son, and we'll show them the right thing to do. Don't they know that each child is a blessing? In the end, what will hate do for you? You'll have to have 6 feet of earth as you cover, with a white cross to stand over you. On both sides, there'll be death and destruction. Did anyone win? You tell me. God's message of love and forgiveness should stop war forever, you see. Thank you very much, Sheila. That reminds me of a conversation on the news this morning that we need to be careful about not glorifying war. And sometimes that's what does happen. Okay, this is from Marilyn Enoch. She is a retired teacher many years ago, and she's been writing a series of vignettes about true classroom experiences. And this is number 29 of her vignettes, and it's entitled, Get a Job. Very young elementary students seldom see teachers anywhere except at school, so they assume teachers actually live in the classroom. As amazing as that sounds, it is a belief held worldwide. Ms. Isabel taught first grade and had heard that young students held that notion, but never experienced hearing it from her students. One particular day, after her little ones had put their backpacks in the coat locker, checked in the lunch order center, placed their homework papers in the appropriate basket, and played with their friends while they awaited the bell to ring, heard her say to no one in particular, "Oh, I need coffee this morning," as she filled her coffee pot with water and started the brewing process. When she stepped across a group of children playing a game on the floor to reach into her closet to retrieve a paper cup, she mumbled, "Oh, shoot." She discovered the coffee box was empty. "I need to get cups at the grocery. Gosh, I hope I have enough money to pay for them," she added, talking to herself as she tried to remember if she had cash. She really didn't want to use her charge card for such a small purchase. She was completely unaware her students were sitting on the floor, staring up at her and listening to her every word. They heard her statement about having enough money, and in their 6-year-old minds, formed a whole different slant on what she meant. Neil raised his hand and said, "Oh, yeah, you live here, don't you?" She laughed. But before she could correct Neil, Manny raised his hand and said, "You may want to get a job. If you had a job, you would have enough money to buy cups. I'm sure you could get one at McDonald's or Wendy's." Puzzled at first, she looked at them and frowned. She knew children thought teachers lived at school, but she was confused by the job part. "Get a job?" she asked. "Yes," Manny answered, and continued to patiently explain. "You know, like my mom and dad have jobs and go to work every day. They get paid money for their jobs. That's why we can have a house, food, and toys. If you had a job, you would have money to buy cups and other things too." The sudden comprehension of their inaccurate perceptions raced rampant through her brain. She had to laugh out loud. Not only did the children think she lived at school, they had no idea that teaching was her job and did not view her as a person who worked. "Oh, so instead of teaching school just for the fun of it, I need to find a real job?" she asked, grinning from ear to ear. "Right," they all happily chimed together, mimicking her responses during class sessions when they answered her questions correctly. She hated to burst their bubble and debated if she should tell them she had a job. She decided to let them down easy and said, "Thank you for your suggestions and help, but teaching is kind of a job." The more she thought about it, the more convinced she became that when she considered what she was being paid, Manny was almost right. Incredible teachers spend a lot of time at school, but they don't live there. Thank you very much, Marilyn. We appreciate that. By the way, I want to tell you, Marilyn's a good dancer. I watch her on YouTube. That's Marilyn Enoch. And I am going to turn it back to Mary because I'm anxious to hear what happens.
Okay, well, let me put on a pair of glasses that I can read with, and I will be right with you.
Okay.
Okay. Part 2 of Romeo and Juliet. Well, by the time you've passed 39, you've grown up and figured out that no matter how grand love may be, it doesn't always conquer all. It certainly doesn't get the toilet fixed, or the living room painted, or the dog taken to the vet. Real life is full of real frustrations, big and small, and tender euphoric feelings sometimes have to take a back seat while you run to the corner for gas or to buy a carton of milk. Because you just can't live on love all of the time. Groceries and utilities and clean laundry and taxes are usually involved too. But I finally realized that when I listen and even sing along to Love Story, I don't have to think about real life at all. It takes me right back to being 16 and blissfully ignorant of the myriad disappointments and compromises that real life would bring later. By the time the song wraps up with Romeo on bended knee telling our heroine to go buy a wedding dress because he loves her, I get a quick fix of bottomless yearning fueled and a when dreams come true instant that's about as real as the Disney version of Cinderella and just as much fun. And as I've learned, those magic moments are not entirely lost when your teenage years are behind you. I had one of my own in the middle of a gardening project with a man whose pickup truck and leather tool belt and love of blooming things beat out any central casting figure of a prince on a white horse. One Sunday morning after the plants were in and the mulch was spread and green things were beginning to take root, the subject of putting in a footpath through the flower bed came up over coffee. I, cursed with deep character flaws of ambivalence and a pathological fear of commitment and absolutely no imaginary sense of the visual, balked at every suggested solution. I hedged even at the idea of going window shopping for rocks. But we took the truck out to a local quarry anyway, just for something to do. We walked hand in hand in the sunshine over pretty displays of granite and marble and slate and bricks set into the walkway. And when we reached a stretch of red Arizona sandstone, I suddenly saw my heart's desire, and I imagined it spread among my flowers. I still hemmed and hawed, pricing it out, trying to figure what I could afford, balking at the enormity of the project, wondering whether I should go back home and think on it for a while longer, at least for another week or two. And then my Prince Charming cast his 2 cents into the pot and roughly rounded it up to the fact that this was exactly what I wanted. We had the truck with us. We might as well just go for it. I still remember the joy bursting in my heart as I threw my arms around him then and kissed him in the sunlight somewhere between the limestone and the crushed lava, casting all caution to the wind and simply saying yes. As blissfully perfect and momentarily satisfying as the ending in Love Story, you betcha.
That was nice. Will you tell us again where that book comes from?
Oh, this is my last collection of essays. It's called When the Shoe Fits, Essays of Love, Life, and Second Chances. I wrote this. This is the last one that I wrote before I started doing the children's books about Finnegan the Circus Cat. So this is a lot of what I'm reading comes straight out of this.
And that can be found on Amazon, can it not?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. You've written quite a few of shoe stories, by the way. I want to bring that to if you like the one book, there's plenty more folks for you to read. And she writes delightful stories for children too. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Alan, what do you have for us?
Okay. On November the 11th, as a teenager, I rode my bike between 3 village churches with staggered memorials and my trumpet strapped on my back to play the last post and reveille during the memorial services. Anyway, this is relating really to that terrible World War I. Picture the fields. Picture the fields of France, scarred by zigzag trenches that somewhat shield young men, frazzled by the last shells pounding. All scared, some near panic, hugged close to the wall. Their quarry waits across a quagmire of muddy water-filled potholes, syrup-like, and bordered by shattering burning stumps. Here are sharpened posts, an invitation for men to run onto amid choking smoke drifting across the scene. As the time approaches, the troops feel their hearts beating in their ears when a whistle blows, a shrill and lonely sound, joined by yelling men on ladders. Up, up and over the top, only to fall back dead onto the backs of comrades and climbed upon by the next line ordered on. Charge the running men, bayonets fixed, picked off by a barrage of shells, rifles, and the rhythmic chut-chut-chut cutting tempo of machine guns. Men flounder among the bilious stench of butchered bodies in dirty ponds, some hanging in barbed wire, grotesque in their death pose. Scattered unclaimed limbs abound, and offal cradled in human baskets. And for what? For this waste, this carnage of ordinary men sacrificed for the power of others. The joke? A war to end all wars. Remembered? Hardly. Lessons learned? Doubtful. Today, they are fields of golden wheat, a red poppy marking each soul. That's my disgust at World War I.
It was supposed to be, am I exaggerating that it was the most brutal modern day war as far as viciousness and debauchery?
And subject to officers by rank decided by their social standing and not their damn knowledge, and just sending common people to be slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands.
Right. There were young men who knew that if they fled, they'd be shot, but they knew for sure if they went into battle, they would be shot. What a horrible situation those young people were in. And our boys, as bad as they had it, were considered like they had it easy because they had General Pershing. And that's what woke up the Europeans, that, golly, Pershing treats us like half humans. How come they're like that in America, not here? Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to read a poem, but I just, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And Alan sent something out about Guy Fawkes. And I said, who in the world is he? Am I pronouncing that right, Alan? Is it Fawkes?
Fawkes, yes. Fawkes, Guy Fawkes.
Okay. It's just to prove that the more things change, the more they stay the same. Guy Fawkes Night is celebrated in the United Kingdom. The night originated from the gunpowder plot of 1605. It was a failed conspiracy by a group of provincial English Catholics to assassinate the Protestant King James I of England and Scotland, and they wanted to replace him with the Catholic head of state. It's observed in the United Kingdom every year, November 5th, so they just had their celebration. It's also called Bonfire Night or Fireworks Night. And on that particular night in 1605, Guy and a group of radical English Catholics tried to assassinate King James I by blowing up Parliament's House of Lords. The plot went awry and all of the conspirators were executed. Soon after, Britons began to celebrate Fawkes' demise and the survival of their king by burning effigies, lighting bonfires, and setting off fireworks. And of course, it's a tradition that's going on today. So I just thought that little bit of trivia history was worth knowing. And I'm going to read one from Scott Zirkelbeck, who's usually with us but couldn't be here today. And he's head of Northport Poetry Group. And he calls it The World Last Week. I can feel the weight of your tears tumbling down for too many years. It happened again today. It hits me harder to hear the name of yet another fallen martyr. The most beautiful people have small hearts. Shallow words pierce like steely darts. The grand illusion has lost its luster. Find your station, then proceed to muster. The golden rule does not apply to those living gilded lives. They will hate you on Sunday, stick you with their wicked knives. I stand with you until we get to the heart of the matter. A wall was built, but here's a bridge. I'll steady the ladder. I learned long ago, we are complicated little beasts. Thou shalt not. But we still have our forbidden feast. I think of no man in this world as a stranger. Brianna, rest in power. You are a game changer. Say her name. Thank you, Scott. And now I'm going to turn it over to my co-host and friend, Linda R. Wright.
Okay. I am joining you for the second half of Writers on the Air. Just reminding you, we are coming from WKDW Radio 97.5 on your radio dial. And we will also be on the radio Sundays afternoon at 3:04 p.m. or you can streamline at kdwradio.com. At least I think that's what it is. You try to memorize this stuff, and doesn't always go the way that you want to. All right, first of all, I'm going to open up with RJ Malloy, our radio station manager. I don't see any veteran poems here as such, but he's a fantastic poet. This is called On Yeats. I'm sitting here among the racks of books, reading William Butler Yeats, seeking time away, time alone. And tears stream from my eyes. My heart pounds in my chest. Is this my dream or the truth? For sure, these are not the hands of my youth, but not yet the hands of my old age. I flex them, stretching the fingers to assure myself that it is so. For sure, it's just the cold in the air that makes the joints ache. There is time left. There is still time left. The days are still long enough, but I grow old among dreams. That is absolutely beautiful, RJ. And he has given us the opportunity to have our show. And hopefully before too long, we will be back at at the Common Hall meeting ground in Northport at WKDW Radio. We haven't because of, the COVID. So we have to do this virtually. And this is a new one that our own Emma Fikes Alberts has written. She sent it to us for Veterans Day. Emma was in the Navy. She was a cute little wave, and she still is. She can't be with us. She had a procedure done on her mouth, a couple weeks ago, and she's still in a lot of pain. It's the second procedure she has had done, and she still can't do her own little shows on Sunday. So we're going to try to help her out. And this is called The Veteran from Emma Fikes Alberts. The word is simple, but the meaning is far greater. Men and women giving their all to the country they love. Wars fought far from home, giving every fiber of their being to keep America safe. Wishing that war were not the answer. Holding the front line, attending the wounded, trying to stay alive while saying farewell to fallen comrades. Those returning home to the ordinary life of family, trying to recall the person that once lived before the nightmares. Going through the motions of day-to-day living without sharing the sleepless nights and despair. Then people begin to see the word veteran written on the license of a car or on a driver's card. Suddenly things change as strangers take your hand and with sincerity say the words, "Thank you for your service." And Emma, thank you for your service so much. We all appreciate it. We haven't had our friend Carol Castagna be with us for quite a while. She can't be with us for a while due to health issues. So I'm just going to read one from her. This is called Waltz and Smile. I never bargained for old age, wrinkles, droopy jowls, blurred vision and the like, but here it is, falling boldly upon my face, stamping its name coldly, then smirking, laughing, crotchety, forgetful, can't hear. What did you say, Sonny? I never bargained for old age, slipping in insidiously. I never said okay to this deal. We never shook hands over it and agreed. No, it just stomped in boldly and coldly, took hold and wiped out the young days, as though it had the right. I never said it did, but here it is. And now, cope with this, as though life's struggle were not enough to mold and to refine. I find this unwelcomed guest racing around my bend, there at the door of my days, greeting me with its own inimitable stance. Just there, Dare I befriend this stranger? Dare I not? I'll embrace old age, this unfamiliar cloak of time, life's dome. I'll dance it a waltz and smile it a soft refrain. That was beautiful, Carol. That was really, really pretty. And now I am going to read one from our own Dobie Pasco, who usually co-hosts Emma's show on Sundays, but since she's been, out with, her illness, he can't. This is called Things Our Mother Did for Us. Don't remember them all, but some. Boiled eggs for breakfast with butter, turning on the gas stove in the morning, opening the oven door so we would be warmed. And just before we went out the door, she held our coats to the open oven door so we could feel the warmth and her love on our backs all the way to school. It must have been the 4th of July parade. My sister and I had gone to the corner to watch. We did not even see or hear the ambulance fighting to get through the crowds. My brother, maybe 2 or 3, was stomping his foot in the canned ham can soaking in the basement. The can flew up, the sharp edge slicing his calf open like a ham being sliced. She wrapped his leg in gauze, carrying him to meet the ambulance. We still have a photo of him, leg still wrapped, now smiling. When the leather sole of my shoe came loose, she sewed it up with needle and thread, or tried at least, until the needle, back end first, pushed all the way through her thumb and thumbnail. I could see it there. She did not scream or cry, but called my Uncle John, who drove her to the hospital. It must have hurt so badly when they pulled the needle out. That evening, thumb taped up, she peeled and sliced potatoes for our supper. These are things that mothers do. That was really, really beautiful. Okay. Alan, do you have something?
Yes, I do. Perhaps a little lighter, but Thanksgiving's coming up. So this is I Give Thanks 2021. I could give thanks for a good life while growing up in a very low-income family, or for a certain musical bent that I have. Like many a spouse, I'm grateful for a fantastic wife these last 62 years. Thanks would also be due for a profession that I chased and won, which allowed me to walk by the Acropolis in Athens, pyramids in Giza, Colosseum in Rome, and the African Great Plains. But no, not today. For this time, I give thanks for Frank Sinatra. Yes, for the skinny kid that became the Bobby Soxer rave, how he chased his dream into the big bands and success. The one-of-a-kind voice that he honed into a special velvet tone with the phrasing he learned from Tommy Dorsey's trombone. I can overlook the rogue years and honor him for the $100 tip every working guy or gal got from his top pocket, and the goodwill for both building wings donated to the hospital in Palm Springs. The first time I saw him, he walked on stage at Caesar's Palace and took a positive but gentle command of the place. The air was electrifying, and the audience almost overwhelmed beyond belief. The last time, for my wife and I, was at Hartford Civic Center in Connecticut. Frank walked out and climbed the few steps to the center stage. A spotlight picked him out. The blue suit, sparkles from his watch band and patent leather shoes. The brass section started a familiar intro with the saxophones wailing their part, and then a thunder from the audience as Frank Sinatra started spreading the news. Thank you.
Oh, great. And just stick around. Mary, do you have anything?
Just stick around.
I'll be reading this off of my phone because it's not in one of my books, and it's just
That's
something I
okay.
wrote during the
As long as
pandemic.
it's-
And by the way, Alan, I love Frank Sinatra.
Mhm. Oh, don't we
So-
We
all?
all did, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows, in the dawn of our ancestors, if we had words before we had cave paintings? What drove or inspired those people, dressed in animal skins and working by flickering torchlight, to paint horses and deer and bison in motion on dark cave walls, side by side with figures of hunters and of their own handprints? Were these vast panoramas formed first in someone's imagination and then turned into a project with collective planning? Or did they arise for singular reasons to create and to inspire and to make a record of life around them? Did music come before song, or did the need to share an experience or a thought lead to grafting words to strings of notes and melodies, with drum beats echoing the human heart? It is insatiable, our need to communicate, to exalt, to explain, to show, to share with one another. There are effigy mounds near my house, raised images in the landscape of deer and panthers. Some were tombs, others were not. They were created by nomadic people more than 1,000 years ago, but they still evoke mystery and wonder in their presence. The language that would have been spoken as they were being built has long been lost, but the effort and the artistry remains. Squirrels scamper above them, and acorns fall, and seasons change as the mounds lay, immovable under covers of grass and wildflowers, and pine needles and branches. Forest giants, trees 100 feet tall and more, have sprouted from seeds among them, and grown, and fallen, and yet these mounds endure. There have been no live panthers prowling these parts for many years, and yet still they are here, underfoot, if you just imagine. We are hardwired and driven in our need to share what we have seen and felt and dreamed. And so we build and we write and we see and we listen, bound together with those that came before us and the ones who will follow, celebrating the human and divine in us all. Thanks.
That was absolutely beautiful. And isn't it so true that when you're a writer, you have to use all of your five senses? I mean, I know I do. You know, it's like when you're describing things, you have to use them all. Okay, I am going to read one, and it's more or less based on World War II and Vietnam, of which that is my generation. But before I continue, I would really like to thank my son-in-law, Howard, for his dedicated service. He did 6 tours of duty in Afghanistan and Iraq as a naval corpsman and reconnaissance. And knock on wood, he's home and he's fine, you know. So thank you, Howard. Thank you. And of course, for all the other veterans. This is called Back Home. I wrote this in 2015. This was one of my very first major poems. Back in the time of peace, after the brutal war of the century, soldiers came home, adulating crowds, parades, families overjoyed, tears streaming down their worried faces. Their soldier boy. Joy and relief on his face, exiting the train, bus, or ship. Sweethearts racing into the arms of the one they adore. Elated, she could hold on to his warm body, knowing that now, finally, he was safe. Holding and holding him, never wanting to let go. He, in turn, thankful to be back on American soil. Can't wait to be behind the wheel of his always polished, beloved car Dad kept up, anxious for his return to reclaim it. Corner soda fountain can taste that mouth-watering all-American hamburger, thick chocolate milkshake sliding down your throat, icy cold, giving brain freeze, but oh, so good. Jukebox full of favorite music loved so much, seemed like an eternity ago. Men stopping to pat you on the back, seeing that American uniform, praising you, offers of a job, excuse me, or your job was saved. Ah, yes, proud to have served, but finally back home, back on American soil, his beloved country. Years later, protesters, demonstrations making their voices known, denouncing yet another brutal war. America not invaded, boys drafted, being sent to an ungodly, unheard of jungle, mainland, Southeast Asia. By war's end, soldiers came home, relieved parents waiting, streams of tears running down their faces. Their soldier boy, sweethearts run to hug and hold him, afraid to let go, knowing, standing before her, he is finally safe. Looking deep upon his weathered face, he smiles with vacant, detached eyes. No adulating crowds with welcomes, no parades. Seemed a lot of folks passing by sort of bowed their heads, not wanting to look soldier in the eye. Just kept walking. Cars backfiring on the street, loud noises made him nervous. Old souped up cars still waiting for him, as Dad promised. Couldn't find work, though, to keep it up or take out his girl. People didn't seem to want to hire him, give the soldier a new start. Yes, proud to have come home, finally home, back on American soil, his beloved country.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. All right, I have one from our songwriter, Mike Neville. And like I said, he does the lyrics and a friend of his does the music. This is called Together as One. It was a long time ago that we fell in love. It's like you dropped from heavens above. We were young. What did we know? You held me tight. I wouldn't let you go. We walked down the aisle, spoke our vows, stayed together all these years somehow. We weren't sure what was to come. Our love held us together all these years as one. You make it easy for me to be me. I close my eye and you are all that I see. You are my sunshine on my darkest day. Our love together has traveled a long way. Stealing kisses, seeing the look on your face, loving it when you give chase, letting you catch me rolling on the floor, stealing sweet kisses even more. From where we were to where we are, our love has brought us so very far. I still love you. You still love me. I would again get down on one knee. It was a long time ago that we fell in love. It's like you dropped from the heavens above. We vowed to live our life in harmony. We vowed our life would last an eternity. Oh, that was absolutely beautiful, Mike. And that would be great to hear to music. It really, really would. And now for our own Steve Lind. He was in the Navy, I believe. And this is a true story he had told us. It was about one time that he saw, or his crew saw, a phantom ship. This is called An Occurrence in the Atlantic. I can see through the mist, and my abstract spatial logistics insist that I see a ship that does not appear on the radar. And yet my mind clearly envisions a floating ship of light way out deep in the middle of the Atlantic, right through the dark of the night. My mind is drawing pictures of what it must be like, wavering like a dream, somehow within my sight. Just like a ghost fathomed mesmerically emanating flight and homing in like a psychic beacon to the sliding integer, it almost squeals with the feel of revealing itself to the receptors that its psychics excite. All right, this is really true. The sliding integer code was created by the sliding integers that translated the code, usually many times in order to scramble the message. It is still the most effective way to scramble a message. So thank you so much, Steve. I know I messed up on that one word and I did practice it, but you know how it goes. Okay. All right. Do you have a short one, Alan?
We're all out buying turkeys as we've been. And I admit I'm a carnivore. It's called Turkey Trot, and it's a rhyme. On social days, we strut our pen. Big Tom plays alpha male again. Most of his brothers live close by. They're often chosen, I wonder why. We girls look like our best, but those Toms present a larger breast. Holidays, our bittersweet and human needs for festive meat. My friends and I will join the line. but will be hanging by our feet. Assassins hold their final gift. Make it sharp, make it swift. Then whirling belts and spinning leathers tear at us and strip our feathers. A wielding worker with no grace will open up a terrible place. To complete his task, the gory lout will dump our steaming entrails out. We're washed, then dried with care. Our necks are stuffed, you know where. A paper bag I now emote of liver and heart stuffs our throat. That U-shape crafted from a bale secures our ankles to our tail. Finally, it's quite a drag when sealed inside this plastic bag. Tagged and dated in a trice, another stamp displays our price. Distribution will expand, delivering us across this land. So when you sit to celebrate and someone helps you fill a plate, be grateful. Things could be much worse. You didn't write this turkey verse. Just think of us, what we went through. We did it all just for you.
Oh, that is really good. That is really good. Oh, we have a 2-minute warning. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I am going to do my poem, Remembering the Veteran. Inhaling winds of yesterday with breaths of echoes past, dust clogs my lungs, choking as memories invade my soul. Constant rat-a-tat-tats, cannon fire booming in the distance, ground exploding, souls departing, coughing up fear and horror through centuries of battlefield's bloody imprint. Forever stained on my weary cheek, where soldier be born again and again and again. Souls interwound, generation through generation, saluting their brethren, connected together by the bonds of brotherhood. Mirrors of waters reflect, I am not alone, as hands of the long dead be placed upon my shoulder, as hands be placed upon theirs, continuing shoulder to shoulder, yet to fight another day, another war, whilst the sons of sons, lined behind, stand with me, as far as the eye can see, to horizons of battles past. A chorus of voices sings softly in my ear. You are not alone. You are not alone.
Nice.
All right. I would love to thank everybody for joining us today. Alan Hodgson, Mary Wagner, my co-host Linda Schell. Thank you, RJ, for letting us have this platform. And also especially to Marie LaBrosse. Without your technical abilities, we would not be having our show. And look at her with her little hat on. She's just too cute. We will see you next Tuesday at our regular time. And don't forget, we are on the radio on Sundays at 3:04. Okay, I'm doing great. And thank you. We will see you next week. Linda and I say thank you. And Emma, please get well. We really, really miss you. Thank you.